I think you should always respect your enemy and then shoot him. I have bullets and a gun. He's a bad guy. He's going to die. And if he gets lucky, I'll die. These guys over there are wearing suicide vests. Do you think your gunfire in that direction is going to suppress anything? These guys are already dead. You can call in AC-130 gunships on dudes and they'll keep running at you. If it interferes with me or my team making it back to the States, it doesn't matter. We're coming home, I'll stop.
Daniel Corbett is a former member of Navy SEAL Team 6, the most elite unit in the Navy SEALs. He was involved in high-stakes military operations all over the world, including the rescue of Captain Phillips from Somali pirates back in 2009. He served multiple tours in Iraq and Afghanistan, where his SEAL Team 6 was part of countless search and destroy missions against Al-Qaeda and Taliban targets. Dan is the most cold-hearted killer I've spoken to on this podcast. He embodies the Navy SEALs, not driven by any ideology or hyper-patriotism. He is simply driven by the thrill of the kill. After leaving the SEALs, Daniel went on to become a paid private mercenary, locating high-value targets for both blackmail and assassination purposes all over the world. His story is so unbelievable that Hollywood has come knocking, where he's got a television show in development based off of his book, American Mercenary, in bookstores all over the country, so make sure to go pick it up. And for a bonus episode with Dan, where he goes into greater detail about his time doing black ops, head over to patreon.com/theconnectshow. What an incredible life story. The American mercenary himself, Daniel Corbett, right here on The Connect with Johnny Mitchell.
When I'm in your house and I have little green circles under my eyes and I have my gun on you, you don't have time to grab a human ship. We did Captain Phillips' mission, jumped into Indian Ocean, saved Captain Phillips, and then I just looked to my left and there's a pistol at my forehead. I'm in prison. I'm like friends with all the hooligans. I'm with the shot caller of the jail now. I wanted to contribute to there being less bad guys.
That's when I see lights behind me start to flash. And I didn't even think, I just hit it. I was driving like my life depended on it. And then I parked the car, hopped out, closed the door, and I started running.
And he pulls out a burner, shank, it's like 6 inches. And then he passes it to me. And he goes, here, that's yours. Don't ever leave the cell block without this. He was the reason I made it out of that place alive.
When you go into the military, do you have any idea about where it's going to lead you?
To a degree, like I knew I wanted to be a SEAL, so I knew I'd be heading down that pipeline. But beyond that, it was a mystery, but it was cool. It added to that sense of adventure and the unknown. Like, let's go, let's do it.
Yeah. And I suppose that depending on what your skill set is, that's where you'll get, pushed in whichever direction they can best use you.
Yeah, and a lot of it's just weird butterfly effect stuff too. I've seen one kid get rolled in Hell Week or whatever, then he got put on this other team and they got to go do stuff, and it's a lot of things are out of your control also.
Right. Okay, so you did Hell Week, you became a SEAL.
Yeah.
That's your background.
Yeah.
Okay. What led up to that? Did you have ambitions to do anything else?
Yeah, so in high school I was rock star football player. And one year I wanted to run cross country. I don't know why, but I did. And the assistant cross country coach was like, hey, what are you doing after high school? I was 16. I was 5'10", 170, same, full beard, okay with the chicks. Like it was good. And I never really thought about after high school. I thought high school was forever.
Yeah.
And partially because it was awesome. And my family isn't a family of academics. So there's never like, are you going to Harvard or Yale? Like there was no even talk of college. So I had no plans. So when the assistant coach asked me, I said, I don't know. Then he handed me a VHS tape and it was a documentary about SEALs in Vietnam in the training. And I was like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah. So that was the impetus.
That was the catalyst because I did all these after school programs for smart kids and it was cool because mentally that was stimulating, but hanging out, they were nerds, right?
Yeah.
Like I was like, okay. And then after football games, we go drink in the vineyards and have fun and party. That was great, but there was no mental stimulation. So I was like, God, is there something that does both? And during that documentary I watched on the VHS tape, they're interviewing a guy and he goes, the interviewer asked, what makes you guys so good? And the guy goes, we're not that good. It's just everyone else sucks. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. That's clever. These guys are fit. These guys are putting it on the line, problem solvers. I want to be that.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's ideological. the reason that people choose to go into something like the SEALs, especially.
No. Yeah, I tell people like, oh, is it because Jenny broke up with you, or you want to die for your country, or look, whatever reason you go, sure. But to me, I think SEAL training is too hard and too long to do it for any other reason besides you wanting to do it for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Because Jenny broke up with me can get you a month or two in, but it's not going to get you 13 months through training. Right? That's not going to stay with you.
Right.
It has to be an internal drive that is part of your character to show up every single day.
Yeah. That's why it attracts athletes.
Yeah, because it's that same thing.
Yeah.
Wake up at 4, do whatever. It's like, okay, how can I roll this into a job? Navy SEAL. Boom, let's do it.
And it attracts people that might otherwise be criminals.
Yeah.
You know, we just had Taylor Kavanaugh on the show. He
I know Kev very well. Good friend of mine.
You know, wayward and on the wrong path and selling drugs and getting into trouble. But that criminal energy, that ADHD,
is prolific in the SEAL teams.
Oh, I believe
100%. And I tell people like, why'd you be a SEAL? I'm like, so I was a super athletic criminal. Where else would I go? And then, you know, you have that super awesome trifecta too, because everyone's really intelligent. So you have this person who's okay being morally ambiguous, very smart, and physical beast.
That's a perfect summation.
Yeah.
Morally ambiguous.
Let's weaponize those guys and send them overseas. Where do I sign up?
So did you have to join or serve anywhere else first, or did you just go through basic and then graduate to, take your initial SEALs training and then go to do Hell Week?
So it changes back and forth. But when I went in, you had to go to a regular Navy A school or job after boot camp, because guys would pipeline straight into SEAL training after boot camp. They get rolled. They would have a performance role or the medical issue or whatever, and they'd end up being there for like 2.5 years. And then they finally quit or get dropped, and they've been in the Navy now almost 3 years, and they don't have a job. So they go, okay, we got to fix this. We have to send people to a Navy job school first and then let them go to SEAL training, because the attrition rate is so high and the pipeline is so long. So when I went in, they said, hey, there's these 13 jobs you can choose. And I said, which one's the shortest one? Like, oh, gunner's mate's really cool. It's guns. I'm like, oh, that's cool. How long? 6 months. I don't want that. I said, just tell me the shortest one. And they said, it's parachute rigger out of Pensacola, Florida, 4 weeks. I said, let's go.
So you're jumping out of planes.
No, you're just sewing.
God, the opposite.
Yeah.
Wow. What does that mean? You're stuffing parachutes?
You learn how to pack parachutes. Yeah. You're sewing and repairing gear, and you're also doing inventory on the stuff that pilots carry in their vest in case they have to eject, like their flare and water packets and all this.
Do pilots still carry cyanide capsules? Was that ever a thing?
I don't know. I mean, it sounds really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard that Navy SEALs have to carry around Mac 10s all the time. So, I mean, I don't know.
But there was always that Cold War rumor that, especially people that were deep behind enemy lines, that always had cyanide on them in case they got caught. They would just...
I could see that. But if you have a pilot flying high altitude taking pictures, he doesn't need to know all of the mission. He just needs to fly. So even if he gets captured, he's not going to tell him anything. He's like, yeah, I'm a pilot. You know that because you shot me down. Now what? Like, could be. I don't know.
So what was your specialty going into SEAL training? Where did you excel, you think?
Through SEAL training, I would say running.
Yeah,
and, which wasn't, I didn't excel that much because the small town I grew up in, 25,000 people. I mean, if you can run 3 miles in under 21 minutes, you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
And the first run we did in Buds, we had like 200 people in our class before Hell Week. And I was in the middle third of the pack, but towards the end, I was almost in like the last third of people. And I'm like running my little heart out. And I'm like, I'm going to fail. Like, I'm running really slow today. I don't know what's going on. I'm very like just beating myself up during this run. And I get back and I had a really good time. And I'm like, oh, I'm not the big fish in the little pond anymore. These are some athletes. And come to find out, one guy in my class was a Stanford cross-country champion. Another guy just transferred. He was in the Navy active duty on the professional triathlon team. So like we had some rock star endurance athletes. And I was like, oh, okay.
And this is wartime, right? It's the early 2000s?
Yep.
Okay. So were you itching to go over there?
I wasn't opposed to it, but at the same time, when you're in buds, if a bud student talked to me that was in first phase about Afghanistan or Iraq or getting it on, I'd be like, shut the up and worry about being a bud student. Because you guys wake up at 4, clean your room inspection, make sure your CO2 cartridge has no rust before you swim, make sure your knife's sharp.
Yeah.
I'd be like, you need to focus on this. The other will come.
Sure.
If it's still there. Right. So, I mean, no one wants to practice a game or a sport all week and never have a game Friday night. You want to go play. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And now I think just moving into this new phase of humanity, there's going to be a lot less hot war. There's going to be a lot less use. There already is for rank and file infantry soldiers. Future wars will be fought with drones, and I mean, they already are, but
shutting down power grids, whatever.
Right.
And we've known that for a while, and a lot of guys have been getting out and like, okay, I've chased that dragon enough. It's not coming back. It's not send 30 dudes over there, smash, and come home. Those conflicts are going to become fewer and fewer, if any. And even now, even within the last 5 years, it's been a huge slowdown for everybody that's still in. Yeah.
Now, in your time, you passed buds. Did you have was there any issues getting through it? Was there any I don't know.
See, I don't want to sound like a dick, but no, I mean, I was 18, I raced triathlons. I was made of rubber, I saw guys doing ice baths and popping Motrins, and I was like, why? Yeah. If I was 28, 30, I'd be doing the same, but I was 18 and, no, it was good.
Okay. So after buds, you graduated, you're a SEAL.
Yeah. Well, after buds, you have 3 months of SQT, SEAL qualification training.
Right.
And that's just more advanced training, and no one really washes out of that. And then you're a SEAL. So yeah, after that, became a SEAL.
How many people did you graduate with?
Probably like 35, 25. Yeah.
Okay. So where'd you get deployed first?
Iraq. Wow. In the summer of 05. Yeah.
Well, it's hot over there in 05, huh?
Oh yeah. It was cool because we were in SQT, like the last month of SQT, and we had an instructor, older. He sat us all down and he goes, you guys don't know how good you have it. He goes, I've been doing this for 20 years. Tried chasing wars on the West Coast, went to the East Coast, back to the West Coast, nothing. And you guys are going out the door to the show. Like, know how good you have it. Wow. Because back in the day, there was like one shipboarding or like one gas oil platform takedown. One. And if you're on that team that did that one shipboarding, it was like, oh, that's so-and-so. He did that one mission like 3 years ago. And then, but you don't know what you don't know. Like, I'm brand new. You're going to Iraq. There's a war. Okay. But the old guys are like, you guys know how good you have it.
You
going to the show.
You might have been part of the last show in American history. We may never have a war.
No, because everything's too politicized, and we have better technologies and tactics. Yeah. Yeah.
And you can't sell a lie like the Bushes sold the Iraq lie.
Yeah.
I don't think that's ever going to happen again.
Yeah. I think there's a lot more oversight.
Yeah. You were part of the last, it was Vietnam for our generation.
Yeah. Hey, go over there and those guys up.
Yeah.
Roger that.
And it achieved UNGATS in many ways, but
no, it created ISIS.
Yeah. Right. Right. Well, just, same with Vietnam, just take this hill.
Roger that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now thousands of people are dead. Bunch of Americans are dead. And now you got to take the next hill. What are we doing this for? Well, kill count, body count.
Take the hill.
Exactly.
Roger that. Yeah.
So what is your objective when you ship over there? Where do you go in Iraq? Where's the first place you go?
I think we landed in Biop, right there, center, Baghdad. And I think it's in Baghdad. I don't know. It was so long ago. And the first 3 months... well, half and half. We did 3 months of doing direct action raids. It's like rolling out, breaching dudes' doors, explosive, either dumping them or capturing them and bringing them back.
How often were you dumping them versus bringing them back?
That deployment, not that much. Because a lot of the times we hit a dry hole. And a dry hole means like it's either the wrong house or there's no one there.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And it was, it was pretty hot. It was hot, like metaphorically, like it was popping off summer of 2005. And I think there was some like weird, like feverish mentality, like, oh, we got to hit this house, hit this house. And we're like, yeah, let's go. I'm a young guy. I'm ready. I want to go and reach a door and there'd be no one there. And you're like, maybe it's the next house. Boom. Nope. Wow. So like most of the houses we hit were empty or like not even the right people. Yeah.
Yeah. And what were the rules of engagement at that time? Did you, because, after Abu Ghraib and a lot of these, kind of politicized things, the Nisar Square massacre, that gun battle. But in 2005, what were, I guess what were your governs around engaging people? Did you have to be shot at first, or
it was pretty much shot at? Was very clear,
Obviously.
cut and dry. Pointing a weapon at you was pretty good, and then as the use of IED started picking up, then it was like, okay, are we dropping dudes if they have a Nokia in their hand?
Right.
Oh, it's just a phone. Boop, 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 boop.
Yeah.
Dual tone, multi-frequency, DTMF, boop, 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 boom. Right? Yeah. So you're so it was weird because back in the day, line in the sand, these guys are dressed in these uniforms provided by their country.
Yeah.
We're in this trench, boom, bad guy, good guy. Terrorism. Mm-hmm. Dude's wearing a polo shirt, no beard, and a clean cut haircut, and he pulls out a Nokia, boop, boop, and then a big IED goes off. So you kind of had to be smart on the trigger.
You're making your decisions split second.
Yeah.
That's stressful.
It is, especially when if you do the wrong thing, you will answer for it. Yeah.
Did you see people getting court-martialed for bad shoots?
We saw stuff internally. We never saw it go that high, but you'd come back from an op and you'd hear about someone getting pulled aside like, hey, why'd you take that shot? It's like, dude, he had a gun. It's like, yeah, but he was pretty far with a pistol. Like, you shouldn't feel threatened. Then people started getting divided. Like, it's Iraq 2005. He had a gun pointed at me. I don't care if that was going to be 100-yard pistol shot or not. I'm dropping him. So you started to see that there was some questioning going on, and that made things really dangerous for guys because on more than one occasion, you would see someone put themselves in a very dangerous situation because they were afraid of the aftermath if they did pull the trigger.
Now, when you're doing these raids, is it just other Navy SEAL teams, or are you support for, regular military? Like, how do they incorporate you with the other branches of the military over there?
So when I was there, we did everything. We drove our own Humvees. We had our mobility guys, and then we'd rotate out, and then the guys would go in and hit the house. The only time there was any joint anything, it was obviously eyes in the sky, whatever platforms we had as far as, ISR or even gunships. So like Army Helos and whatever platforms we had, given us ISR. So, but that for me being so young, I wasn't involved in any of that mission planning. I wasn't talking to any pilots, I was like, make sure my gun is locked and loaded and do what I'm supposed to do. And that's it. Yeah.
So you didn't have any authority in the early days, obviously.
My authority was taking out the trash. Like that was what I was in charge of, right? As a new guy.
Were you a little disappointed at first that there wasn't more action, that you guys are coming up hitting empty holes?
Yes and no, because it was the first thing I've done. So I had nothing to compare it to. We were still flying around helicopters, blowing up doors, ready to fight. I mean, as a young Navy SEAL, I was like, it's still pretty cool.
Do you remember your first firefight? Do you remember when at first you hit the right hole or you hit the right?
Yeah. So the first time was actually very bizarre. We were in a vehicle convoy, and I was number 2 gunner in the Humvee on the 50 cal. It was at night, and we were either on Route Irish or Route Michigan, and all of a sudden I just see a flash, and then boom, and then vehicle 1 opens up with the 50 cal, and then we start doing all our vehicle maneuvers, and I'm on the gun. But it took me so long to realize what was happening, because it was early on in the deployment, and the way I have to attribute this to how real we train. The way we train, the flashbangs, the training simulators, the blanks, it's so spot on. It's almost too spot on. I was like, oh, contact front. No, that's a flashbang. I'm like, wait, there's no flash. Wait. Oh, this is real? We're getting shot at. Yeah, those aren't blanks.
Okay, so did you let the 50 cal off?
Yeah, but the way, whatever reason, the vehicle commander decided to break contact. So it was like up, and then we were already peeling back, and then the other guns were shooting. So it wasn't much, but that was the first one.
Okay, if you're getting shot at, like, how do you not hit your own people?
It's all
like,
training, man.
So do you circle up the Humvees? Like, say you're surrounded and you have to have multiple people shooting the 50 cal. I assume
so
you
don't circle the wagons like the Western days. So it depends on what the call is.
Yeah.
It's like a football playbook. You can either blow through or step on the gas, and everyone has their field of fire. Humvee 1 will be usually front, Humvee 2 left, Humvee 2 right, oscillating each way, and then last Humvee is holding rear, right? So you kind of have this like
that's got to be
security.
I would assume that's the most dangerous spot to be is Humvee 1 on top with the gun, right?
It's debatable. Humvee 1, you're either going to hit the first IED or you're going to arm it, and the second one's going to hit. But yeah.
Oh, is that how it happens? So,
and they got smart too. They would set an IED up, boom, victim operated, right? So like pressure plate, boom. Convoy would stop and start to like offload the people, whatever, and then they would manually set off the IEDs they had buried all along the road and hit the rest of the convoy.
So were you ever part of an IED
no,
hit?
thank God. Thank God.
Wow. Luck of the draw, right?
Yeah. And we had these jammers that were in the back of our vehicles, these big, huge black monoliths. And did they work? Or were there no IEDs? I don't know.
Okay. How long was your first deployment?
6 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And it doesn't sound very eventful.
We got to do some stuff, but I mean, going out the door like 100 times in 6 months was pretty good.
Oof. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did you feel? I mean, you're just a young kid.
I wanted to stay. I said, leave my saw, my belt-fed machine gun, and leave my M4, and I'll just stay. And they're like, bro, you can't just stay. You have to rotate back.
Yeah.
Another team's coming. I'm like, well, maybe they don't have an extra guy and they could use me and like get in the truck, go in the airport.
Were you aware of who Blackwater and private military guys were?
That was the heyday of Blackwater mercenary fashion. There was dudes that were all super jacked.
Yeah.
Mohawks, body armor with no shirts underneath. I'm like, what are these guys doing?
Well, did you consider jumping ship? I guess you can't jump ship, right? If you're
because
under contract by the military.
Because you'd run into some guys and they'd be like, oh, if you ever get out, I'm making X amount a day, and I'm like, oh, that's dope. But I mean, I was a brand new. I just worked my ass off to become a SEAL, and the getting was good. Yeah, as far as I knew. So why would I leave?
Like the pay,
or no? Like the action was good. So like, why would I leave? And plus, at that age, if I was concerned about making money, I probably would have went to finance, not joined the SEAL teams. Right.
There's really a thrill seeking behind all of this.
Yeah, it's hard to say because it's more like I just like the competition, right? The ultimate competition and the critical thinking and the problem solving. Because people go, oh, when you were shooting people, were you just like fired up and like yelling? And I said, no. I say, if someone you loved was on the operating table about to have open heart surgery, would you want the surgeon to come in like slamming a Red Bull, bouncing it off the ground, be like, let's go? Or would you want someone to come in calm, cool, professional? So when I'm actually working and you're on the trigger, it's very much you're in that zone, like a pro athlete would be, right? You're just like focused, boom, boom. I think the appeal is that you're never doing the same every day, and that you're with people you can trust. I mean, the people is the best part of the job, 100%. And you really get to be creative on how you attack these problem sets, these missions.
Okay, so you're there for the the mental stimulation as much as like the
100%.
Okay, so yeah,
if
that
not,
makes
you
sense.
can go do a marathon and go to the jiu-jitsu place down the road and go boxing if you really just wanted to hit that part. But the community aspect was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And the mental aspect, the critical thinking and problem solving.
I think the military recruits, or we're at least told that the military, whether that's just the army, the rank and file, they recruit like people from the hood, poor people that don't have a lot of opportunity.
It's a way out,
and
right?
It's a way out. But for guys like SEALs and, high level people, it's deeper than that. These guys have options. You could have gone on to, like you said, been in finance or done something. You had a lot more. You've got the mental acuity and the intelligence to. You could have done whatever you wanted, but you're here, and that's exceptional.
Yeah. So we got guys from the hood. You know what I mean? We got everybody. But you're right. The guys that do come in and succeed in those special programs, they could have succeeded anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So after your 6 months is up, what happens?
Go back to San Diego and do your entire training cycle again, which is good because I'll talk to people in different units and different branches, and they'll go, "Oh, I'm skydive certified." I'm like, "Oh, do you guys jump a lot during your workup?" And they go, "No, I went to this course 9 years ago." Oh, okay. How many guys on your team are qualified? Oh, just me. So if there's a mission, you're going to jump in by yourself? Like, how does that work? In the SEAL teams, we have a cyclical rotation. So when you get back from deployment and you pick up however many new guys that just graduated, you do all these same blocks of training that you just did over again. And you just keep stacking the 10,000 hours of each skill set. And you come back and you do it again.
Right. And you're hoping to get redeployed, I'm sure.
Of course.
Okay. Did you go back?
So we went to the Philippines for the next deployment.
Why?
Drew the short straw.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you have let's say you have fake numbers for math. Let's say you have 10 platoons at a SEAL team. 6 are going to go to Iraq and 4 are going to go to the Philippines. Well, my group was in the 6 that went to Iraq the first time. Boom, boom, boom. Now you go.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you go there and you just find a wife and start a family.
No, it was cool. I was a little bit bitter, and I did pack a desert bag just in case. So in Philippines, green, different color camis, but I did pack a bag with all my desert stuff just in case. Some hopeful, wishful thinking.
Yeah.
It never left. I never used it, but I had it just in case because I was pretty bummed. But we were in the Philippines, and I made the best of it. It was a little bit ridiculous. They go, "Hey, I need you to train these guys jungle warfare." And I'm like, dude, I've done like 8 days in Stennis, Mississippi in like the bayou. These guys live in a hammock in the jungle where they grew up. Like, what do you want me to teach them? I'm like, you can't teach them anything. They're going to teach me. But it was cool. I got to do some more intel-driven stuff and get to see that part of the world.
Today's episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. You guys have heard of BetterHelp by now. BetterHelp is the world's #1 online therapy service. I've used BetterHelp personally for the last 2 years. It's the beginning of the new year, you guys. It's a fresh start. It's a blank slate. How are you going to make these next 365 days count? Start with your mental health. From anxiety, depression, problems at work, problems going through a breakup. There is a benefit to everybody by talking your problems out. I love BetterHelp because it's online. It's super easy, convenient, and I don't have to leave the house. I'm at home editing, podcasting. I don't have time to get up, go find a therapist, go into their office, start this new relationship. That's like really, really time consuming. That's old world, old hat. Forget about that. That's 20th century. This is the 21st century. Get an online therapist. It's easy, and they'll match you with somebody who can help you with your specifications, with what you need to talk about. For instance, I was going through a breakup, so they put me with somebody who kind of specialized in that kind of counseling. I cannot recommend it enough. It's very easy to switch to if you meet somebody that you don't jive with, you don't like. It is easy and very, very convenient to get placed with somebody else. Write your story with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/connect to get 10% off your first month. Again, that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/connect, CONNECT, to get 10% off your first month. Use BetterHelp, use that promo code, and begin your journey towards mental health. Today's episode is sponsored by Rocket Money, the #1 personal finance app. You guys have heard me talk about Rocket Money before. I use the Rocket Money app to help keep track of my subscriptions, get rid of the ones I don't need, and track all of my monthly expenditures. We live in a subscription-based economy now. Everything is a subscription. I'm not the only one. Everybody has subscriptions to things, especially that they don't need, and Rocket Money is so great because they will track, find, and get rid of these subscriptions that you don't want. They've personally saved me thousands of dollars from locating old subscriptions and services that I've signed up for that I no longer use. Not only do they locate those, but they'll actually reach out to that vendor and cancel them for you. In fact, if you want, they'll even reach out to these brands to renegotiate a better price for you. That's wild. It's like having an agent or a real estate agent or something. It's incredible. Rocket Money saves users an average of $750 a year when you use the app. It's saved $500 million in subscriptions since it's been around. It's really, really useful. I only have brands on this show that I actually believe in and use, and Rocket Money is probably at the top of that list. I am Scottish. I'm very white. I'm very cheap. I hate wasting money, even if it's $9.99 a month that I don't need. Rocket Money has stepped in and changed the game for me, and it can for you too. So once again, Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster today by going to rocketmoney.com/connect, CONNECT. That's rocketmoney.com/connect. Once again, rocketmoney.com/CONNECT. Thank you so much for sponsoring the show.
All right, what's next?
My buddy comes up to me and goes, "Hey, I want to screen for SEAL Team 6. And I'm like, he called it something else at the time. And I go, I don't even know what that is. Well, you're my best friend. You're doing it. I'll do it. So I put in my package. And what that consists of is going to your master chief at SEAL Team 5 and be like, hey, I want to try out. And they go, okay. Paperwork, fill it out. And then cadre from SEAL Team 6 flies out like once a year to test the guys on the West Coast. Show up, do the physical test, and then 2 days of interviews. You do like the California psych test, another psych test, interview with psychiatrists, and then an interview with a panel of operators at SEAL Team 6.
Wow.
And they ask you like good questions, like, it's between you and Johnny. Why would we pick you over him? And some guys would be like, well, Johnny's really good at radios, but if you need a radio man, maybe him. And I was like, yo, I'm here for me. I'm not here for him. Right. So they kind of want to see your character. They want to see, you know, if you're going to be a good culture fit too. It's not a very big community over there. So I did my interviews, and the third day, I think they told 2 of us, they're like, you guys are for sure in. So, okay. So that was actually right before the Philippines deployment. So I knew I was going to go to that screening process right when I got back.
Wow. Okay. Tell us what SEAL Team 6 is compared to just being a regular SEAL.
Okay. So I don't want to come across as an elitist, but SEAL Team 6 is a unit that has different pools of funding, more, and there's no new guys there is the biggest thing. So that cyclical training cycle I was telling you about, how even if you've done five deployments and workups, when you get back, you got to pick up the new guys who just made it through training and do the same thing over and over again. And it's kind of a no child left behind policy there, right? Because you need to bring the new guys up to speed, and you can't keep going and developing new stuff if someone's struggling. Where when you go to SEAL Team 6 and go into their pipeline, if you make a Monday mistake on Monday, okay. But if you make a Monday mistake on Tuesday, you're gone. Like that. Because they're not going to hinder everyone else's progress.
So it's the elite of the elite.
One way to put it, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And they're the ones who get the super special assignments, I would assume. They get the
I mean, there's other units in different branches that are right up there. But yeah, they got to do big ones. You can look in the news, but yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So you got in.
Yeah.
At like 20 or something?
I checked in at 23.
Okay.
My team leader had a daughter my age when I checked in, and people were looking at me like, what is this young guy doing here?
Yeah.
He's a baby. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you got a lot to prove.
Yeah.
But you're probably excited as you're in the NBA. You're in the,
I'm in the big
leagues.
So I had a lot to prove, but I wasn't that same 18-year-old kid worried about taking the trash out when I was at SEAL Team 5. Maybe I should have been, but I was a rock star. I was like the guy from SEAL Team 5. I couldn't give a shit. We're all SEALs here. Why are we doing this new guy again? And there was a little bit of a culture clash.
Yeah.
When I checked in, for sure. Yeah.
Does having bodies on you, like, I don't want to be crude, but does that mean anything to people? No,
because at this point it was 2007. The war's been going on for quite some time, and it's pretty assumed if you even got greenlit to go to try out for SEAL Team 6 that you're on the board.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was no like, he's, it's not like being, I'd say a profession that doesn't have as many shootings. Like, oh, that guy's been like, dude,
like a cop or something.
Yeah. We've been in sustained combat the whole time. So like, oh, you shot someone. Yeah. Okay. You're a gunfighter. What'd you expect? Yeah.
Wow. I'm just so fascinated by it because, like, I don't know, the closest I've been to killing somebody is in like a video game, Yeah. It's wild. Had you had any mental, I don't know, moral misgivings about anything you were doing up to that point?
No. And, people would ask me like, oh, what if it's this situation? What if it's that situation? What if, the person's this gender with a gun or this age? I said, look, if it interferes with me or my team making it back to the States, it doesn't matter. Yeah. It's not even a conversation.
Yeah.
That's it. We're coming home. I'll stop.
Yeah.
Will it be unfortunate for whoever's on the other side? Yes. But to me, all of the different variables that it could have been, it's all one to me. You're just in my way for me and my team getting home safely. If you don't like it, then take it up with the politics involved and leave the military and go run for office and change it. Like, that's where I stand on that. Yeah.
Okay. So after you're part of you join SEAL Team 6 or you make it into it, what is the first place that you go?
Can't talk about the first place. Second place.
Really?
Yeah. Second place was Afghanistan. And again, it was my timing has been impeccable. Summer of 2005, Iraq, awesome. And then the deployment cycle with the squadron I was on, we would show up like April, May, June was our deployment to Afghanistan. And Afghanistan during the winter months, everyone goes into like hibernation. Bad guys, everyone's like, it's too cold. Yeah. We're not fighting. Let's just hang out. April, May, June, time to knock the snow off the AKs and get to work. So the timing again in Afghanistan was awesome.
Wow. Okay.
And we were dumping dudes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, even like guys who were attachments to us that weren't SEALs, but like that were like from different branches or part of the Navy doing different jobs. They were dumping dudes, and they're like, "Holy!" I mean, it was game on.
So it was firefights.
Most of my firefights have been one-sided. Yeah.
Okay.
Night vision, sneak in, creep in, suppressor, boop, boop, go home.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I prefer it that way.
Oh, 100%.
I have no desire to be shot at.
No. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean? I'm good.
Absolutely. If you're there, you might as well.
Bro, I'll take sucker punches all day on people.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're fighting the Taliban now.
Yeah.
What's the biggest difference? Who do you think was a better foe The Taliban or the insurgency in Iraq?
Taliban for sure. You had some hitters roll through both. Like you'd see Chechens in Iraq and they'd fight. But Iraq, here's an example. We hit a house. One guy gets shot in the face. One of the bad guys gets shot in the face. All their guns are away from them and they're just screaming. And then our mobility platform outside in the Humvees radios us like, hey, can you shut those women up? I'm like, dude, there's no women here. These are the guys just screaming, mister, don't, whatever. In Afghanistan, you can call in AC-130 gunships on dudes and they'll keep running at you. Wow. They're like, jihad, I'm going to be a mortar. Let's do this. Kill me. So you're like, oh, way different enemy.
So the resolve was much deeper in Afghanistan.
Full on.
And history has shown that worked.
Worked out for them. They're bout it all the way.
They're running the country now.
Yeah. And it's funny when I see these tactics like, oh, you're going to put suppressive gunfire and then you're going to maneuver on them. I go, what do you mean suppressive gunfire? These guys over there are wearing suicide vests. Do you think your gunfire in that direction is going to suppress anything? These guys are already dead. Mm-hmm. So your tactics of, oh, shoot some rounds and they won't keep popping their heads up, that's not going to work because they don't give a shit. These guys are strapped,
right,
ready to blow.
Yeah.
Suppressive gunfire, they don't care.
Yeah, and the fact that it's so mountainous, the terrain and the elevation must make them so much stronger.
Yeah,
so much more battle hardened.
You'll see a dude in man jammies and flip flops sprint up a mountain. You're like, okay, well, he's from here.
Wow, that must be terrifying. I mean, fascinating, but
it is. It's cool, right? You're like, holy shit! Like these guys are mountain warfare ninjas.
Yeah.
Right. And like, we would do the best we could for 2 months before we deployed. We'd be on the treadmill with the like minimizing oxygen and try to acclimate. Yeah. But they're like, motherfucker, I live here.
Yeah.
Like, cool. You did 2 months on the treadmill with the little air tank thing.
So is there a respect for them?
I think you should always respect your enemy and then shoot them. I think the moment you say, you see it like in UFC, a guy puts his hand down because he has no respect and he gets caught, right? Mm-hmm. Bullets go.
They ain't got no name, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's like,
do you think it was more dangerous? Do you think America took more casualties in Afghanistan or Iraq? Maybe that's a stupid question.
I don't know. I would have to assume Afghanistan because the CIVCAS collateral damage limit in Iraq was 31. So you can call in an airstrike and drop 30 civilians as long as it's not 31 to kill bad guys.
Can you explain that further?
Yeah.
I've never heard this.
So the collateral damage, like accepted civilian casualties in Iraq when it's popping off was 30. So like we could be like getting shot at from like this big compound and the ISR platform sees one gun shooting at you, like drop a 500 pounder. Boom. Right. Whoever's in there shouldn't have been friends with the bad guy.
Right.
And then you go to Afghanistan. I don't know what it started off with, but when I was there, you couldn't have one non-combatant.
Right. Okay. So so the politics have changed.
Exactly.
It's gotten a little more sensitive.
That was the beginning of the handcuffs being put on.
Right.
That one, okay, I can get behind that, but there needs to be case by case, right?
Right.
This guy's with all of his homies, knowing because they know our rules. They know everything.
Of course.
They know everything. They know that's the rule. They know that we can't go into mosque, all that stuff. What do? They fight for mosque. Right. Yeah. They're fighters. I would do the same thing.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, oh, we can't do this. And he's around two guys that on the ISR feed, they don't have guns. So we can't like, really?
Huh.
We can't. And then you got this like really big fear-based decision-making. I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to mess up.
Yeah. And that's a really dangerous place to be.
It's a very dangerous place. But it's weird. Where do you like kill everybody? Right. So you have to balance it out.
Okay. The movie with Mark Wahlberg,
Lone Survivor.
The Lone Survivor. The whole crux of that massacre basically is they're trying to decide, should we shoot this kid and this farmer who are clearly going to run off and tell the bad guys in the village below.
Yeah.
And you hear him saying, no, I'm not going to end up in Leavenworth. we're not going to kill these kids.
That's a real mentality we have.
Was that accurate? Like, could you actually?
I mean, I
To
wasn't
save-
there for that, and I was just on Luttrell's show. Awesome guy. But is that mentality real?
Yeah.
100%. And plus, if you dump those guys, the village it's not LA, it's not New York, and those goats are like their lifeblood. So there's going to be your goats, you know. Johnny and Jimbo's goats are traveling around and you haven't seen Johnny. You're going to go find them.
Yeah, but if they had killed those guys, at least it would have given them a chance to get out of there. You know,
I don't know. But yeah, but the mentality of, I don't want to do this, I don't want to go to jail, 100% real.
right.
Yeah.
And that really sounds like it really put you guys in danger.
It did, but instead of whining about it, you just had to be that much better. Right?
Did you ever have to make a decision like that?
No, I was never put in a position to. I think the people I was with and like systemically all the way through my entire circle loop, not one link was different. Everyone was on the same page.
Did you have anybody in SEAL Team 6 when you were in Afghanistan in your team get killed?
No.
Wow. So you guys were just cleaning up.
We were cleaning up. And, you know, a lot of the tactics from the guys who, you know, went before us, they developed a better way of making entry into these places. Instead of running in, they'd be a little bit more methodical. And
What was the mission?
the mission for us was just dump bad dudes. Just
It
dump
was just
them.
body count.
Body count.
So Vietnam.
Vietnam. But yeah, it was still Team 6. We had legit targets, legit bad guys.
Who are some of these targets? Could you talk about?
I don't know. Bad guy 1, 2, and 3. I don't know.
But are they like the heads of certain brigades?
of big madrasas in Pakistan that are terrorist units, all that shit.
I see.
Yeah. I mean, when I was there too, I think is my second deployment. That's when, so I came back from that first awesome deployment, was on standby. We did Captain Phillips' mission, jumped into Indian Ocean, saved Captain Phillips.
Hold on. Can you go to that? You were on that mission?
Yeah. So I was on the mission, but I wasn't one of the shooters off the fantail of the boat. Wow. I was the load master for the airplanes.
Okay.
Making sure like nothing's overweight, the right people are on the birds, skydive in, and
did you skydive in with everybody? Yeah. Wow, into that village? Like
no, we skydived in the ocean, into the Red Sea or Indian Ocean. Yeah, yeah.
That sounds exciting.
I mean, the big missions that get the news. I mean, that was pretty cool.
I mean, come on, dude.
Yeah,
you're talking to lay people here. You know,
big missions that get on the news pale in comparison to the gunfights you would get in the orchards of Afghanistan, where you can't see because your night vision splashing off the trees and there's a guy 3 feet away from you. Like those stories just don't make the news because there's not a big political or geopolitical impact.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
So that morning we get paged. Or a couple days before, we find out the Maersk Alabama's taken. You're on standby, okay, and then Captain Phillips jumps off. Tries to swim away. They shoot at him. He gets back on. And then it was like, okay, we're really spinning. Wake up. Get the message. Boom. Roll out the door.
Where are you when you get that?
Virginia Beach.
Wow. And you wake up that morning and you're like, hey, we're going to save America's hero, Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks is on the ship. Let's go get him.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So you got, I mean, look, you didn't kill bin Laden, but this is a piece of history.
Yeah. And
like you really hit the jackpot kind of.
Yeah. And I didn't know at the time because it was just a mission, right? So we get
So how do you, walk us through how you get from Virginia Beach all the way to the Red Sea.
So we get the message. I go, okay. And the day before I had been given the gift of being trained on being the load master, making sure the boats that are on the birds aren't overweight, proper head count, proper amount of parachutes, XYZ. Okay. And then the morning of, show up, I get my bags on the plane. I mean, on the truck that goes to the plane that puts them in the boats. Big logistical nightmare. Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting there and the guys in charge of the boats, like, all the boats are overweight. They might sink. Okay. Pilot's like, yeah, that means the plane's overweight too. And it's like, well, we're not going to not go. I'm like, roger that. And then I had my head count checklist, like roll call. And like, okay, everyone's here. And like 4 dudes walk up. And I'm like kind of stopping them from getting on the plane. And it's like the commanding officer, the executive officer, and the master chief of the command.
Yeah.
Right. Not even just in my squadron. And like, I'm an E5, I'm a nobody, but I'm the load master. Right. I'm like, well, sir, you're not like, get the fuck out of the way. So roger that. So like, we're all like overpacked. There's no seats for them. They take all the extra parachutes we had. So there's no extra. Wow. They debo their way on. I'm like, okay, who am I to tell the commanding officer of this unit, you're not on the list, right?
So you put the rafts, the boats, the makeshift boats onto the plane.
They're like cigarette boats. They're like high speed badass boats. Yeah.
Okay. So what kind of plane do you take over there?
I think it was a C-17.
Wow.
Huge. Yeah.
What is that? I hate flying. How long is that flight? And where do you?
It was faster than we thought, because we thought we were going to be jumping in at dusk or night. And it was like broad daylight. And we were up over the drop zone. We look down, we see the USS Boxer, big Navy ship. It's only at 4,000 feet.
But what is that flight over the
I
Atlantic?
think it was like 14 or 16 hours.
Because you got to go over Africa.
Yeah, but you can go up. You know how the world is.
Yeah.
You gotta do one of these.
You go over Europe,
down
into the past, whatever, the Mediterranean.
I was playing chess on my phone. Like I wasn't watching watching the map. Yeah. Yeah. So we jumped in and we sent one group of guys out to the Bainbridge, and then my group of guys stayed on the Boxer, and we were planning. We were coming up with ways to skin this cat, like how are we going to do it. At this point in time, the life raft that Captain Phillips was on was being towed by the Bainbridge, right?
Right.
And we're like, okay, do we have them tow them to the beach where they want to go to their pirate camp? But it's not their pirate camp. It's where we are already at waiting, right? So we had all these things lined up, and then we got the word that things are looking good for opportunities to take care of the threat the way they ended up doing it, and it happened. And then we hung out for about 4 or 5 days after, because White House was like, okay, these guys can perform. There's a bunch of pirate camps right there. These guys are here. Let's go smash some dicks, right? So we're like, okay, cool. Let's do it. Nothing ever happened, and took us like another week to get home.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they sniped, and just remind us, because it's been a while since I saw the movie, they sniped the enemy from the ship.
Yep.
From the
Bainbridge.
The Bainbridge.
Yeah.
Those were really expert shots.
Oh yeah. I mean,
because they're in a life raft.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's incredible.
I'll do you one better. So they always had shots on 2 guys, but the third guy was inside.
Right.
And he started popping his head up into the little pilot window. And the guy that was watching the pilot window said, hey, this guy keeps peeking his head. If he holds it long enough, I'm going to send it. Are you guys good? And they go, yeah, we're good. And then everyone's locked on. Head comes up. Done. Like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And those guys must be rock stars, those snipers.
Yeah, but you know what? You would think so, but they're just like cool, regular dudes.
Now,
man.
are in SEAL teams like that, who do they decide who's going to take those shots? Like, do they know who the best shots are?
Yeah, so that was the recce team on the Fantail, like our sniper team.
Okay.
But like who gets to go and do what? A lot of like you're pretty even across the board, so it's legit like aces are low card goes. It's like because it's like you're picking
what's fair.
Like you're picking between the best people. Like yeah.
How was your sniper game?
I wasn't a sniper until much later.
Okay. Did part of you wish you could have taken that shot though?
No, I don't care.
It's a big responsibility.
Well, I'll take, like confidence wise, I'll take the shot 100 times. And that's what people will like, oh, who actually did this or who shot that guy? My team did. We're a team. Like that's the way I look at it. And maybe it's because I got to get it on in 05 and I got to really get it on my first deployment where I didn't have this need to like feel super involved in everything. And like being the load master was important. Sure. Maybe that's just what I tell myself, but I have nothing but love and happiness for the guys who go do those things. It's not like, oh, I wish it was me.
Well, but even though you're the best of the best, there's still different skill sets, right?
Yeah,
Everybody
100%.
can't be the best at everything, even in an elite unit like SEAL Team 6.
It's close, man.
Right.
It's crazy because it's so small.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's crazy. Like you can go out. We go to the shooting schools where there's like steel ranges and this pistol rifle and you're moving and shooting. You can have 10 guys out there run it 10 times. You'll have 10 different winners.
Yeah.
Like it's that.
Wow. That's pretty crazy. And then when did the gravity of like the historical nature of what you did set in?
So when we got back, everyone was like, oh, I'm like, okay, American Hostage Rescue. I'm like, okay, all right. And like, no, SEAL Team 6 was stood up on like one of the sole principles was to do an American hostage rescue at sea in this infancy. That was like mission statement. And it happened and it was successful. Wow. I was like, oh, that is cool. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. Okay. What year was that? 08, 09? Or much
09.
later?
09?
09.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So after that, what happens? Where do you go?
After that, I did another deployment to Afghanistan.
Now you're becoming an older person. You got a bunch of years under you. Do you start to take command of units? Do they start to give you that responsibility?
Because when you get to SEAL Team 6, yeah, you have some rank in the U.S. Navy, but you start over because you're new to that command.
Right.
I mean, they listed to you, right? Like, hey, what do you think? Oh, we should come in from the north. Okay, that's a good idea. Let's implement it. But you're not running.
What was that other deployment? What was that next deployment to Afghanistan? Like, how did you see it start to?
Just dropping dudes. It was awesome. It was awesome. And then I talked about the handcuffs coming on, right? Then you'd start to see stuff like, can you guys not wear body armor because it makes you look too big and it scares the locals? Can you guys not go out at night because it scares the locals? Can you guys not use canines because it scares the locals? Can one of you guys carry a non-lethal weapon? Like that started coming down the pipe and everyone was like, what? And then it was like, hey, you have to take 5 of Afghanistan's highly trained military guys with you. And it's like our guns and night vision are like top secret, even for Americans. Like, we can't be around these guys. Like, what are you talking about? No, you have to. So I was like, okay, let's put these 5 guys in the back and we'll go do our job. And those 5 guys turned into 6, turned into 7. Wow. And then it turned into 15 of them and 5 of us. And I had gone before then.
Were there any leaks? It seems dangerous. Were there any traitors?
No, when I was there, we had 5 guys and we had a like real hush-hush meeting in the jock, and they're like, hey, one of the guys is like a no bad guy and is like planning on like lighting you guys up when you're out on patrol. And this had happened to Marine and Army guys so much with the partner force where they had coined a term, I forget, it's either green on blue or blue on green. Like, it's happened so much, there's a name for it, right? So we're like, oh, this guy's like planning with these 3 other guys to do this? I'm like, fine. Let's tell him we have a mission, go out and dump him. Yeah. Like, no, you can't do that. I'm like, why? Is this credible intel? Yeah. Well, we can go out in the mountains and dump these guys off credible intel, but these guys we're working with, we have that same intel of that same credibility, and we can't just take them out and not come back with them. They're like, nope, we just got to send them off back to whatever base they have. Yeah.
I would have gone to Leavenworth, dude. I'd be so scared. I'd be like, I'm taking no chances. Yeah. Did they use IEDs in Afghanistan, or was it more suicide bombers and vests? And
it was weird. Like, Afghanistan, there's one highway, so that gets IED'd all the time. But like, we don't always use helicopters. The IEDs you would see in Afghanistan, or I saw, was HBID, houseborne, where they build IEDs into the house. And what they'll do is they'll know that we're tracking their phone. So they'll have their phone plugged in nonstop with it on, like transmitting, but there's no one there. And they go, you guys need to go hit this house. like leadership. It's like, dude, that phone's been on and hasn't moved an inch in 30 days. No one's been in and out of that house. That's an H-bid.
Right.
And, you know, before we got super smart on that, guys were like, oh, a phone. They'd go in, no one there, pressure plate, and the whole house explodes.
Oh, horrible. Did you hear about guys getting blown up like that?
Yeah, I mean, the worst one was, there's a video of it. It was tragic. I think it was a ranger element. They fly in, they're hitting a compound, and then one guy steps on a mine, boom, and then they try to get him, and like they ended up stepping on like 8 or 9 mines, trying to like recover everyone. It's like boom, 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 boom. So yeah, and you know what? It's a tactic that works, because I remember looking at a slide presentation for a mission we were going to do, and then we have our EOD guys go up and it's like, hey, these are this, you know, significant stuff that's happened near this compound. And then they would show like all these IEDs on the map, like, you know, color coded, like known IED, suspected IED, was an IED. And it's just like littered all around the compound. It's like, dude, we're not hitting that compound. And we wouldn't hit it.
Right. You could just turn down a mission
well, we would
like
get
that?
creative, right? One time, when we ripped out whatever the squadron that was there before us, they said, hey, Operation Redwood, right? Whatever name I'm making up. Redwood is this houseborne IED, and we kept sloughing it off because we finagled our way out of it. But it is a houseborne IED, 100%. Middle of nowhere, phone on. But Hedgeshed wants us to go clear it. So be careful. Be ready to address that further down the road. Okay? We're in country. Hedgeshed, you guys are going to go hit Operation Redwood. We're like, what? Dude, we know it's a bomb. Okay. Our team leader's like, all right, you, and you, 7 of you, go grab law rockets. Okay. So we grab law rockets. Don't tell the Hedgeshed. Land the helo about 300 meters away. Okay, new guy 1. Miss. I think I missed. Third guy. Boom. Boom. Secondaries.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's like, turn it down or do it where everyone gets appeased, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Wow. Yeah. It's tricky because now you're not allowed to kill civilians. Because in the old days, you say, well, just bomb the place.
Bomb
if you
it.
think it's an IED, just blow the whole village up, right?
Mm-hmm.
I imagine a lot of those villages were abandoned, though, right? Or did they have people? They
were either abandoned or the bad guys purposely use it as a base of operation because they know the game.
Would they use human shields? In your experience, did you see that?
No, because most of the guys I dropped were sleeping. So like there's no time. Like when I'm in your house and I have little green circles under my eyes and I have my gun on you, you don't have time to grab a human shield.
I meant like when it came to explosives and IEDs and stuff like that.
That was more that you'd see that in Iraq. You see guys hole up in a mosque and be like, oh, and the guys were like you know, using whatever, and guys like, and some guys to go in.
I wonder if that's why the Taliban kind of won the hearts and minds of the people a little better than the guys in Iraq, right? And now I know what they're doing now is, I'm sure the people of Afghanistan, a lot of people don't like what they're doing. But they did have this driving mission of self-governance.
Yeah.
That was a little more, dare I say, righteous, right?
Mm-hmm.
In context than Saddam Hussein and the Baathists and then what would become ISIS in the Middle East. Like the Taliban had, they really had a lot of support of the people. And they said, we were going to have a free Afghanistan. We've been fighting since the Russians.
Yeah.
And I think just like the Viet Cong, obviously I'm no commie, right? I'm not a communist, but they were fighting a war of liberation since the early days of French colonialism.
Oh, yeah.
So looking back, you're like, oh, of course we didn't have a chance.
And plus, you're sitting there in Afghanistan like, hey, we brought you some candy bars and some water. If the Taliban come here and do an IED, you have to tell us. Okay, Taliban, same family. If you talk to the Americans, we'll cut your head off. Who? There's no contest.
How much do you like Butterfingers?
Yeah, like no contest, right?
Uh-huh. Okay, so they would massacre civilians
for sure.
for snitching or
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you can't compete with that unless you become a bigger monster than like
Yeah.
who's the bad guy, right?
Yeah.
Who's the good guy?
People are going to think I'm like pro-Taliban. I'm not. I'm trying to paint a larger
Yeah, just the
historical
the socioeconomics
context.
of what's happening
Right.
in that region. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, it's guerrilla warfare and it's
There's no rules, and if there are rules, the Taliban are the enforcers of the rules. Like who watches the Watchmen? Nobody.
Mm-hmm.
They can do whatever the they want.
right.
Yeah.
But they weren't driving. My point is they weren't driving for chaos the way that a group like ISIS was.
No.
Like they had a political, underlying political mission.
Yeah, they view themselves as like a political party. Yeah.
And I think America needs to look at that the next time we think about like going into like a protracted war. It's like we should have learned the lesson in Vietnam.
You mean exit strategy?
Yeah.
And reverse engineer it after you have that figured out? I agree.
Hamas, right? It's an ideology. It's these people are fighting for land. It's not because they want to kill Jews. I mean, maybe that's tertiary, but it's like they're fighting just the way the Viet Cong fought to overthrow the French in Afghanistan with Russians and the Americans. They're fighting to, as a war of liberation.
Yeah.
And it's very, very difficult to defeat that, because it's about will.
And you if you want to kill a mindset, then you got to kill everyone over the age of 10 and then take every 10-year-old and younger and indoctrinate them. Like you're not going to do that.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did you start to become disillusioned at a certain point?
Yeah. I had some personality conflict at that team, and at the same time during the handcuffs really being tightened on. Like you got to bring 15 of these guys on. And we need you to start doing shooter statements of like what happened. It's like, bro, I'm a SEAL Team 6 operator. Yeah. I'm a professional. I'm not a cowboy. If I do something, I do something. That's it. Don't question me. All that went away. They said, I'm out of here. I'm going to go teach back on the West Coast.
Wow. Okay. So
I came back to California.
You had done your time. You had the freedom to leave the military.
No, I mean, I was still in.
Oh, I see. Teach.
But there was friction personality-wise at SEAL Team 6 for me. And there was also, the war had changed so much. I was like, I'm over it. I'm going back to Cali. My family's from, I'm back. I'm going to go back. I'm going to teach. And that's what I did.
Okay. Where'd you teach?
So I taught, it's in San Diego. It's part of the SEAL pipeline. It's after BUDS. It's SEAL qualification training. And it was cool. It was me and like 3 other guys who were at SEAL Team 6 were teaching room clearing. And that's like bread and butter. Mm-hmm. Your skills at CQC or close quarters combat, room clearing, whatever you want to call it, that skill in the SEAL teams is the high school equivalent to how much can you bench press, right? Like that's like, oh, he's a great scuba diver. It's like, don't care. He's good at land navigation. Don't care. That guy is like a ninja in the kill house. It's like, ooh, that's sexy. I want to be his friend.
Yeah.
So it was cool. So we had 3 or 4 guys that were teaching students, not even SEALs yet. And like, it was awesome. We had those kids coming out of those 4 weeks, like super good. Yeah.
Okay. And then how long did you do that for?
2 years. And then towards the end of the second year, I went into the career counselor office because everybody was getting these massive, like $85,000 re-enlistment bonuses. And I'm like, hey, I think I'm up for this. What's going on? She's like, yeah, but you did some paperwork while you were overseas in Afghanistan and you had to come back and dissolve the extension to get it. And you didn't dissolve it in time. So yeah, you're not eligible for. And I was like, okay. Like it was frustrating to know I'd missed out on some weird bureaucratic paperwork. But at the same time, I didn't have to make any decisions. I knew I had to leave. With the war being what it was and me missing out on that, I'm like, I got to go. Yeah. So that's when I decided to leave the Navy.
Yeah. How long were you in there for?
12 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Had you had a family? Anything by then?
No.
Yeah. You're just a real killer, dude.
Well, I was just, I mean,
You didn't have a lot of attachments.
I mean, I'm very close with mom and dad, brother. I mean, I've had girlfriends on and off, but it had nothing to do with being a SEAL. I was just a young man, just, doing dumb, like ruining relationships, not coming home on time, like, just young, dumb stuff. So, and I loved my job. I loved being a SEAL.
It didn't seem like you suffered the way that a lot of people in the military that got deployed to the Middle East did with like PTSD and.
Yeah. And I'll be completely honest. When I was a young man, I didn't think it was real. I was like, nope. I've grown to accept it. I've been educated on it. Just because something affects me a certain way doesn't mean that's true for others. And just because something affects a lot of people a certain way doesn't mean it's going to affect me the same way, right? So,
but a lot of people get PTSD because they see, their brother in arms get blown up, or
I mean, I've never experienced that.
Right.
I was just like,
you were just wins. It was just all
dubs,
wins,
catching
dude.
dubs all day, just first person shooter highlight reel, like that was it.
But going into somebody's cave or whatever they live in over there, and shooting somebody to death in their sleep.
That sounds very violent the way you say it.
But that's the truth.
Yeah, I mean, I shoot them once usually.
Right.
Yeah, and shoot them to death. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, do they live? I assume they didn't walk out of there.
No.
So I just wonder, I wonder just on a psychological level if that causes PTSD or if it's only the violence being done to you. Like, did that seem like a video game? Did that seem not real to you? Going in and doing
my
that?
whole life, I think everything's a movie anyways. So.
Yeah, kind of is.
Yeah, right. Like, is it real? I don't know. I like it. I liked my job. And being like hyper pragmatic, A equals A, right? Some objectivism. If I sign up to be a gunfighter and gunfighting happens, good, right?
Yeah.
You sign up to be a boxer, you get punched in the face. Whoa, what's going on? Or you punch someone really hard and they fall down, like, ooh, I feel bad. Like, no, you're a boxer, crush him. You're gonna lose some too. You're gonna come home with a black eye. Like, that's. So I think being as logical as I am, I'm like, well, yeah, I have bullets and a gun. He's a bad guy. He's going to die. And if he gets lucky, I'll die.
Yeah.
That's it.
Wow. So you just, it's incredible. Okay. So when you left the SEALs, did you think you were done with all of that?
So I've seen so many guys like, oh, it's not the same. I'm getting out. I'm going to go make it big. And I'm like, go get some, brother. And some guys did, right? Some guys, my buddy has a badass knife company, Half-Face Blades. He's killing it. Some guys go do big things. And some guys you see 8 months later. I thought yeah, man, took a job at AT&T's. Stupid. I'm back with brothers. You're like, damn. I can't fault them.
It's hard to get out.
I said, that's never going to be me ever. When I get out, I'm going to make it, right? So much so that when I checked out, you have to go get signatures from every department, like whatever, admin, blah, 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 blah. And the last one is a commanding officer. And I didn't have a plan, but I wanted everyone to think I did. So I was wearing a 3-piece suit, tie, walk in to the CEO's office, and he's like, I thought he was going to inquire or anything, but he didn't give it. He's like, all right, here. I left. And I was like, I'm out of the Navy. I'm done with it. But there is a form of arrested development going into a big institution at 18. And it's not just the community, brotherhood, XYZ. It's the finance. You can be in Iraq, like 99% of the time I was in the SEAL teams, I never felt like work was a 4-letter word. And every 1st and 15th of the month, money would magically appear into my bank account. Even if they're like, guys, muster 10 a.m., get a workout in, phone in muster for the next 3 weeks, just be playing golf, off whatever. Yeah. And then guess what? Money appears.
It's nice working for the government that just prints the money that they give you.
You throw it on the line, you go get in gunfights.
Sure.
Okay. But I like that too, right? So when you get out, it's America, it's capitalism.
Yeah.
Go figure it out. And I think a lot of vets get this thing like, oh, I'm a vet. And it's like, yeah, great. Like, what value added can you bring to civilian companies or being an entrepreneur or whatever it is?
Right. Yeah, nobody really owes you just because you
right?
chose
Like,
to go
cool.
over there.
Like, if it's between you and a non-vet and your resumes are the same and you guys are both typing 99 words a minute, sure, I'll edge it out to you. But I'm not just going to give it to you just because. Right.
Again, it's like the criminal world, man. It's hard to get out. I was selling drugs since I was 17 years old. And
the money's good. It's easy. You know it.
When I got out of prison, like, I was like, I've never done anything else. So a lot of guys go back.
Yep.
So how long were you out there before you tapped out?
So I looked at this company. I was like, oh, I can do that. This much a day, get on a cargo ship, catch it through the Suez Canal, do anti-piracy security. That's cool. That's sexy. I get there. Not everyone. There's a bunch of good dudes there. But the ships and rotations I got put on, old dudes, overweight, reminiscing about how fast they ran 4 miles in buds. And I'm like, what? And never saw one pirate. It was just soul killing.
Boring.
But I didn't have to go learn a new skill, right? But at the same time, none of the skills I had were actually being used. Just sitting on a boat, doing a 6-hour watch, and then hanging out in my room the other, 18 hours. So I was like, this isn't for me. So I called up the guys at SEAL Team 17, the reserve SEAL team in San Diego. I'm like, hey guys. And I was the guy that came back in. Hey, I thought you got out. Hey. Yeah, I came crawling back.
Okay, so what is Reserve 17, SEAL Team 17?
It's just a reserve unit like any other. To be an active reservist, you got to do your 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year. And it was really cool. It's a really cool command because it's called a flex command, and they understand a lot of guys are contractors or whatever. So you can take the, 1 week in a month thing and stack those and then do them all in like 2 weeks in like October or whatever. Right. So like, it was really cool, really flexible. And you would have to mobilize in your first 5 years, do a workup and then deploy to Korea and work with the Korean SEALs. So I checked in. I'm like, cool, I'm a reservist. It's like, yeah, but you only get paid for your weekends and your 2 weeks a year. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I go, okay. How can I get paid? So I started going to language schools, because that pot of money comes from the big Navy, not from the reserve SEAL teams. So I just like, what are you guys doing? Russian? Let's do it. I'd go do Russian for 3 months because I'd be on active orders getting my paycheck, right? What else did I do? I did Korean, Russian, whatever I can get my hands on to get paid. And then a guy I knew from active duty time, he was now an officer at SEAL Team 17, goes, hey, I know you don't have to mobilize for another 5 years, but I'm putting together a team. Are you down to mobilize early and go to Korea? I said, let's do it. So I got on orders and did a workup and went to Korea.
How long were you there?
6 months.
Okay. Just training.
Yeah, just training with the Korean SEALs, checking them out. Yeah.
So how does this all lead into why you're here?
So I kept doing the reserve hustle, trying to get, and like eventually everything dried up. Yeah. I get a phone call from a guy I knew in the SEAL team, goes, hey, Dirty, we're doing some really cool in Yemen. I said, oh yeah? Huh. Met him for dinner. I'm like, you're not answering enough of my questions. I'm out. He goes, well, the prime, the guy who has the contract, wealthy guy, smart guy, done some shit. He's a real deal. He wants to meet you. I said, you know what? Fine. I'll go meet this guy. So I go and meet this guy. And we're just, really sizing each other up. Like, what are you doing? Where's the money coming from? Is it legal? Just give him, he's like, pulls out a napkin and a Mont Blanc pen. He's like, talking super fast, with like a French Hungarian accent. He's like, does that answer any questions? I'm like, no, it was just lines and circles. Like, I don't know. He's like, look, we're leaving in 2 weeks. If you're in, you'll have 20 grand in your bank account tonight. I'm like, fine, I'm in. Go home, get an alert from my bank. Okay. So
this is a private contract, you think?
100%. Yeah.
Now, what is the legality of that?
Gray.
Yeah.
Because it's through a nation that's friends with the U.S., working and advising them in a territory they're in a conflict with, right? So it's boop, 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 all cut out around in between, right? So,
Right.
So first trip we go, pretty much we're there for 3 months, spun up, about to do a bunch of cool stuff, and we kept getting called off. And we didn't know why. Like leaving the base, phone call off. Fast forward, the country we were training with, when we were going to go do these hits, was like, we were with their presidential guard unit, and they were not ready to do what we wanted to do with them. And we sold them a 6-month training contract. So we wanted to do 6 months with them training and then deploy with them, like we tried to do in the beginning. So while we're training on one of their bases, I see these guys with like really cool night vision, mismatched camis. And I'm like, what the? And they're training with a group of nationals too, local nationals. And I look over and I'm like, I'm not going to use their real names. I'm like, yo, was that you? And like, oh, what's up, Dirty? And I'm like, yo, what's up? I'm like, what are you doing here? Wow. And they're like, what are you doing here? I'm like, well, I'm here to train these guys because we were out down that way in that country doing some stuff. And it kept getting, he's like, and their faces turned ghost white. And they're like, we need to meet with you tomorrow. You and your boss come to whatever hotel. Okay, so we go to the hotel and he's like, bro, we're going to go kinetic with like an airstrike multiple times, but we heard there was a non-gov civilian contract company rolling out on the target list that we had with the same. And you guys don't have Blue Force trackers, like a little GPS thing that shows. And you guys are we're way off the books. But we got word, so we didn't know to either cancel the strike or not. So we pushed it to the limit. And that's why we kept getting called off, so that a hellfire didn't drop on our heads.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a close one. You guys.
Yeah, because I was frustrated. I'm like, dude, I can go pop this guy by myself. He's right there. It's easy.
Who's the target?
One guy was a bomb maker and one guy was a ACAP, Al-Qaeda Arabian Peninsula commander.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, dude, he's right there. His mom and dad are there. He goes to the bakery. He's right there. I can go through the little olive tree garden, jump over the fence. I got this. Let's do it. Go, boom, we get called off. Fast forward 7 months later, we found out.
Wow. Okay, so did you end up hitting him?
No.
Wow.
Yeah.
All that money. Can you tell us the country?
Yeah, it was Yemen.
Yemen that was paying you?
No.
Can you tell us the country that was paying you, that hired you?
UAE.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So do you think it's somebody in the UAE government, or it's just a
U.S. government? I think it was U.S. government
that's running it through the UAE
through
to you guys,
through other agencies. Yeah.
Now, this is what I find baffling. Why can't the U.S. Because why can't the U.S. just go pull that hit in broad daylight? Why do they have to use all this sort of...
I don't know.
Interesting. Sovereignty. When has the U.S. given a about
Same
going
reason
in?
we can't go into Mexico and hit cartel members, right? It's a sovereign nation.
Right.
Right. There's really, I think it has to be like really overt, gross action by the other side for the sovereignty to go out the window.
I see. I see.
We aren't in a direct state of war with Yemen. Even still, like fast forward, that was what, 2016, 17?
Yeah.
Houthis are launching Navy ships right now.
Right.
But we're not, are we at war with Yemen? I don't think we've actually declared war. So like.
I see. And that's where the need for mercenaries, private contractors comes from.
Yeah. I'm like, well, we don't, they're not military. That's not an active war because he's just a random guy or they're a random group of guys.
Where do you think that decision comes from in the U.S. government, the Pentagon? right?
Pentagon or White House.
So these are illegal acts.
I would say, they're legal. Because, Pentagon, you're going to deal directly military. DC, you're going to have more of the political stuff that says, yeah, you can go do this, or like, don't go do that. We've had meetings in DC where we tell them we want to do it, and they just go like this, don't do that. Or they go like this. And when I get the, I go do it.
Who have you taken meetings with in DC?
I can't say.
Can you tell us where?
I don't remember. It was a really nice hotel, and we had phones and Faraday bags and very small room talk. Either get the, don't do that, don't do it, or they go, that sounds interesting. If they do the shoulder shrug, then I go, that's good enough for me. Yeah.
Okay, so after that, was that like a light bulb moment where you're like, okay, I can make some money doing this?
Yeah, but as morally ambiguous as I am, I still felt bad, getting paid and not delivering, right? I wanted to go do the thing, and I liked doing the thing. But we got lucky. There's some stuff that came down the pipeline that, I got to do with someone else, and I can't talk about those things. But how I got here was we took a meeting in Abu Dhabi, and there was a target in Serbia who is funding bad guys. He's Muslim. And because it's Serbia, not like Yemen or Afghanistan, it's like, hey, let's go see if this guy's living a not so halal like lifestyle. Takes pictures, snoop around town. Is he at the clubs? Does he like girls? Does he like guys? Right? Blackmail him into cutting funds off. Right? Because it's kind of untouchable in Serbia.
Interesting.
Right? So I go, okay, I could take this. Get on my computer, do a bunch of open source intel, looking this guy up. Okay. So I head out to Serbia. Talk to the main mistress who runs all the girls, who knows all the girls, have a meeting with her. I'm like, you know this guy? I said, yeah, I know this guy. I'm like, is he a client of yours? He's like, dude, I've tried to give him the best girls in town. And he said, nope. It's like, I thought that was my end. I'm like, okay,
right.
This guy is for sure getting prostitutes.
Yeah.
100%. Nope. Tried to go to like the high end, like speakeasy lounges, like nobody knows about unless you know somebody. Yeah. You'd see everyone else there, but not him. Like this guy was clean,
full muzzy.
I'm like, dude, and like living in a place where you can have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Awesome food, beautiful women. Like, I was like, man, I thought it was going to be a layup. And I had been there by this time for like 2 or 3 months. I had made friends with Hell's Angels. Like, I'm like working every aspect of this I can. And I want to finish. I want to get this done.
Who's your boss? Who's paying you?
Private guy. Right. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get this done. And about 2.5 months in, I'd made friends with this kid, educated in the U.S., Serbian or Montenegro national, living in Serbia. And he was showing me, young guy showing me pictures of girls, and I see a girl standing, and in the background is the company that I know the guy works at, or the building. I go, who's she? He's like, bro, her? I'm like, yeah, she's cute. Not knowing that I want to talk to her and see who her boss is. And blah, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, invite her to the party tonight. He's like, done. But look at these girls. I'm like, yeah, I don't care. Sure. He takes a phone call that night and leaves, and I'm at his flat. He comes back like 45 minutes later. Door swings open. He flies across the room in handcuffs. I'm like, what the f-? And then I just look to my left, and there's a pistol at my forehead. And I can hear, I don't know if this, it was like, oh, I've seen comments before, like, you can't hear the spring shake if there's bullets. I can hear some piece of metal. It sounded like the spring in the magazine shaking. His fingers on the trigger. And I see that, and I'm like, holy f-. People are yelling in Serbian. I don't know any Serbian at this time. And I try to like shift my focus out from the pistol at my forehead, and I see like a blue uniform, like a cop uniform, but it looks like it was bought at Party City. So I'm like, is this like a weird prank? Like I was in disbelief. I'm like, oh, this is a cop. 3 more cops come in, 4 plainclothes guys come in, yelling at me. Don't know what they want, but I'm pretty sure they want me to put my hands up because I'm sitting on the couch. Put my hands up, face down, handcuffs behind my back. That's when I started really paying attention. The kid whose house I was at, his handcuffs were in front of him. I had my hands behind me, and I'm like, okay, what's going on? And they're just interrogating me in Serbian. And I was like, yo, does anyone speak English? And then the room went silent. They're like, American? I said, yeah. They're like, do you have a passport? I said, yeah, I have a passport. Like, how do you think I got here? You know, I'm here. I'm like, it's over there. What are you doing here? I'm like, just hanging out, man. Like, we're having a party. Okay. Do you like guns? I'm like, what? I'm like, as much as the next guy.
Yeah.
They keep shuffling around this guy's house. They go to his safe, and he's a hunter, and they come up like 3 trips from the safe with like rifles and all this shit. And they're like marking it, tagging it. I'm like, dude, am I under arrest? And he's like, you are now. I'm like, what? Because you found like whatever, right? So I get arrested, and I'm looking at the kid. I'm like looking at him. He just winks at me, and I'm like, I don't know if that's like you're good or like I just your sister. Like I don't know what wink that is. Like, so I'm like, what? So I'm like, I don't know. Get in the police car, go to the police station, strip down, lift the sack, spread the cheeks, my own little private cell.
I've been there.
Yeah. Pull me out, get interrogated. They bring me in this room. And there's this lady who's, I remember it so vividly. She's dressed like Cruella de Vil, but she's built like Ursula, right? She's got this fur on, and she's, there's no smoking signs all over the prison walls. I mean, the police station walls, but they're all yellow because there's just nonstop smoke going on. So this lady's sitting there smoking, and they don't understand suffixes. Like, what's your name? I'm like, Daniel David Corbett the third. I'm like, what do you mean the third? And I had to go on the computer and type in my name for him. It was just bizarre. And the lady's like, I may translate you. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be good. And they hand me this paper. It's all in Cyrillic, Serbian. And I can read Cyrillic, like proper nouns, because I read it in Russian, right? And it's different, but like it's similar enough. So I'm like, what's this paper? Oh, it says here you have guns and explosives and manufacturing with intent to distribute and purchase, like all this crazy shit. I'm like, I'm not signing that. Are you crazy? And then she takes the paper away and like looks at the cop behind the computer and does like oh, we tried. And he's like, oh, we tried. Like they just tried to sneak it in there. And I'm like, I'm not signing that. And then they get another one. I'm like, what's this? And I can read like Rolex, the word for passport, pesos, and I can read my name in Cyrillic. I'm like, what's this? This is your belongings that we have. Okay, I'll sign this because this is true, right? I'll sign it. EMTs come in, warn me not to bite their fingers in weird sign language and just take as many cotton swabs as they want. Okay. Put me back in the cell. Bring me out again, like 12. Like, I don't know what, time gets weird. There's no lights, nothing, no window. And then there's this cop who's interrogating me. Big dude. He's wearing like tactical pants. And so we're like talking, and like, I'm pretty clear-minded and I can dance, right? So I'm like, okay, I don't really have anything to hide. Like, let's do this. I'll play, I'll talk until I'm like outclassed or too tired. Then I know to shut up. He's talking about, he's done contract work in Africa, and we're like talking. He's like, so then, he does the typical conversation, question, rapport, question, right? So I have his timing down. He's like, CIA? No. DEA? No. Mossad? No. Like just, okay. All right. Goes back and forth, running, getting coffee and talking to some other people. And he's like, you're here for Vucic. And I'm like, Vuk? Like a wolf? He's like, no, Vucic. I'm like, I don't know what's a Vucic. I know Vuk means wolf. Like in Russia, is that the same? He's like, you don't know who Vucic is? I said, no, what is Vucic? He's like, Alexander Vucic, the president of Serbia. I'm like, I don't know who I don't. And then he's like, hold on. He goes back out, comes back in. He's like, he pulls up a chair, sits down, like backwards on it. And he's like, look, man, I'm going to be real with you. The newspapers already have this story out. They're saying you're here to kill the president, Alexander Vučić of Serbia. I said, okay. He's like, but I can tell you're not. Like this whole thing is ridiculous. We've interrogated the 3 other people, which I didn't know there's 2 other people involved in this. And, but I believe you, but I need you to know you're famous. You're in the newspaper already. Story's gone out. Whoa. I said, okay, cool. Put me back down in my holding cell. And I think like 12 or 18 hours later, I get pulled back up again. It's the big cop, the nice cop, and 2 other cops, plainclothes. And he's like, sits me in this room. These 2 are from organized crime. I said, organized crime? Like what? Well, the guy's house you were at and the 2 guys he was arrested with out in the cemetery buying cocaine. I'm like, cocaine, cemetery, 2 other, like what? Well, there's 4 people and 3 or more is organized crime. Wow. So now it's being looked at as an organized crime. I'm like, oh my God, like this is crazy. This is ridiculous. And the good cop is translating because he speaks the best English. And he goes, hey, these guys are asking if you want to do a polygraph. And it was really cool. He leaned in real close and he goes, say no. And I was like, nope. He's like, yeah. He said no. I was like, okay, this guy's kind of weird. I'm digging the vibe, whatever. Cool. No. So they go, okay. And then they go, you know, they keep trying to interrogate me, translate, and question me. And I go, look, guys, like, I'm not trying to be rude, but like, you should ask me questions. You should be behind me with a notepad, writing down. He'll translate. And then when he has questions, you guys switch. And they're like these, you know, they weren't happy with the performance critique. And then they ended it with like, look, we know you've been trained, but even the most trained guys give up something. They just don't know it. I'm like, okay, sure. Like, shut the fuck up. I was like so tired. So I get put back down to my cell. And then the next day we drive to the underground part of the courthouse. There's like little cells where you wait to go to court. Go there. There's all these lawyers in the hallway. There's no order. And this guy I had seen out in town he's like, oh, what's up, Dan? I could be a lawyer. I'm like, dude, I don't know you. I don't know what's going on. Do I even need a lawyer? Like, and when I was being interrogated at the police station, they say, hey, the kid that you got arrested with, he's offering you his lawyer. Do you want to use his? Or do you want state appointed lawyer? And I'm like, I don't know if this kid set me up. Because I don't know what wink that was, right? I'm like, now my mind's just overdrive, like thinking about everything.
What if you had told them, hey, I'm here because there's a guy funding terrorism? That's what, like,
they already knew I told them, what do you do? I'm an ex-Navy SEAL. I do military contracting. If I would use the word terrorism or work, like they would have lost, it would have been 10 times worse. Okay. Yeah.
Because it's just being a mercenary, it seems like the most dangerous part is when you're in country, you're not supposed to be there. You have no backup.
Yeah, that's why you get paid.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's like, hey, there's no to deny. Hey, we don't know this guy, Dan.
Yeah.
He's never not part of American intelligence. He's literally off the grid.
Yeah, that's why you charge
top dollar
the
because you're a sitting duck.
Yeah.
Wow.
So when I was in there, I'm like, okay, do I take this guy's lawyer or do I do a state appointed one? The way this is panning out already, what I know about the newspapers, state appointed, 100% fail rate. This guy, 50-50. I think he might be setting me up. I think he's not. I'll take that coin toss over the guaranteed getting.
Yeah.
So I take his. So I get there and there's all these people and I don't know who's who. And I'm not allowed to talk to the kid I was arrested with. There are these 2 other guys I've never seen before. And one guy comes up to me and goes, hey, Mr. So-and-so and Mr. So-and-so send their regards. And I go, oh, thank God. They know I've been arrested. They know what's going on. And I can trust this lawyer. So I said, you're my lawyer. Let's go. You're my guy. Go ahead and make initial statements. The lady behind the desk comes down to, look, I don't know who you are or what's going on. It's weird. All of you guys are going to jail till it gets figured out. Okay. We get in the paddy wagon. You know, you drive in, the big gate opens, you drive in the garage, boom, and I get put into this room, hole in the ground, no toothbrush, no nothing, no toilet paper. And I'm there for 2 days with this criminal. And He's like, hey man, you're American. You're going to be out of here in like 2 days, and the hope market in prison is wild, right? Like you're out of here, man. 100%. Like,
you're going home.
You're going home, dude. 100%, bro. You got this, right? And I'm like, okay. He's like, do you have a passport in the country? I go, yeah. He's like, oh, dude, 3 days tops, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm still like trying to wrap my head around what happened. So I'm like, okay, I do 2 days in there. And by the end of 2 days, this guy's a career criminal. So he's like, they're supposed to put us in our forever homes kind of thing. And we get 2 hours a day walk. He's like starting to get kind of irate. And I'm like, okay, am I going to have to f this guy up? Like, is this going to be a problem? Right when we've hit that point of tension, gate opens up and I get taken to my first room, my first real room.
Mm-hmm.
And I go in there and I'm like, I'm going to be the gray man. I'm going to be like, just, if I got to stab somebody, fine. Like I've seen the movies, right? I go in there and I'm walking. They're like, so there's 4 beds and 3 people. And that 4th bed is like extra storage. So when you walk into a new room, the person that's using it as storage is kind of like, you know what I mean? They're like, here are the rules, blah, blah, blah. And they're just like staring at me and they're like, oh, you're the American. And he gets up on the bed that's overlooked, that's right next to the window that overlooks the courtyard where you do your walks, the other blocks. He's like, oh, blah, 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 American. I'm like, yo, like, shh, trying to stay gray. And he just laughs and turns on the TV. And there's like a generic photo of an operator with a baseball hat and a gun. And it says like, my name, Daniel Corbett, arrested, here to kill the president.
Wow.
Like just on the TV, in the newspapers. And I'm like, well, there goes that. There goes like, hey, I just got arrested. Like, I don't know what's going on. Like, oh, no. You're the killer.
Mm-hmm.
There. Okay, so that first room I was in a special room. We only got 30 minutes of walking outside a day and alone, not with anyone else in the block because I was in the terrorist room. So the guy in there with me is accused of beating his wife with a hammer while she was out jogging. She's like a pop singer. A Croatian kid that came as a hooligan and had written some terrorist manifesto. And then some guy who professionally kidnaps and ransoms.
Wow.
Like that's his job.
Yeah.
Like he damn near had a business card, like a website. Like this is what I do. It's a job. I'm like, what the
Did you make a phone call? Like, what were you thinking? Who could you, right? It's laughable.
Phone
what phone, right?
Hey, what phone?
Dude, that's
Nothing.
wild.
Nothing. Embassy didn't come see me for like a month.
Wow. Okay, so you're waiting to basically get your day in court.
Right. So I'm in there for like 2 months and they're all taking all the blues and the pinks and the yellows and the whites and all the different pills that get passed out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm good.
Yep.
And they sleep all day and stay up all night and write their manifesto and give each other razor blade tattoos. And I wanted none of that. And he left his, so I'm on the top bunk and it's like that weird metal spring. And he had carabined in his little radio, AM FM radio, right underneath me over him. And it was like 3 a.m. It was like the 12th night in a row. I was on like 2 hours of sleep and I just reached under and grabbed his radio and just spiked it, just shattered batteries. Come to find out, it takes like 6 months to get approved to get something like that in. So they moved me. They moved me to a normal room, normal block, 2 hours a day outside. Yeah. Not 30 minutes. And it's with everybody.
Yeah.
I go in there and prison guard walks me in and talks to this kid. He's like 27, Jack, short hair. He's like, "Is this guy got a problem?" He's like, "I'll take care of him." I'm like, what the? I'm with the shot caller of the jail now. He's a state-sponsored killer for that country. He's like, this is his second murder trial. And like, spoiler alert, he walks and there's video of it. Like the kids I saw him order a hit from the room and it was on the news the next day.
Wow.
Right. So I'm in there with this state-sponsored killer, a junkie, and an Aussie who was there trying to do a big cocaine deal. Like he had like 1.4 on him in cash and all that.
Wow.
So it was Aussie, me, junkie, hitman. The junkie, having one junkie in the room is okay if he's past the withdrawals, because there's like no like coddling there. There's no methadone. Like it's like he had been moved after. He said, "Bro, if I had a gun, I would have killed myself." Kind of like you're crying and throwing up. But he's a junkie, no money. I buy a pack of cigarettes. Boom, the room's clean as a whistle. You know what I mean? Here's, and he's, you know, funny, blah, blah, blah. He was also a career criminal. So you learn how to make cakes from the little biscuits and all this. So you how to make a water heater from the toenail clippers and wires. And so learning my
Did you think about like paying your way? Were you able to tell a lawyer because you had money, right? Did you have access to it?
No, there was ways. Money was an issue.
Okay.
But the newspaper was the issue.
That's right.
It was trial by media before I even was in the prison.
They can't let you walk. It's too political.
It's too big.
Yeah.
It's too big. So on month 3, I was arrested. I was arrested in January. In April, we're going to a small court. Go make statements again. I don't know. He's shown me some guns. I've seen him. I know he's a hunter, blah, blah, blah. And the lady goes, you've answered all the questions very well. You're very intelligent, Mr. Corbett. I have nothing for you. You're free to go. Boom. 3 months. Okay. No big deal.
Yeah.
Go back to my cell. You know, the luggage for prison is a double black trash bag. Throw my black trash bag. And the prison guard walks up. He's like, Folka, that was my nickname in prison. Folka, advocat, lawyer. I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm grabbing my stuff. He's like, no, you're not taking that. So I go back to the visiting room and he goes, hey man, I don't know what happened, but when you left, she got a phone call. And on the other line, they said he will be charged with something. So I'm telling you right now, it's not fair. You're going to be here a long. He goes, I believe it's going to be fine. But when that happens, it's going to be a long time from now. I said, okay. And he was representing like the big lawyer that like they were one firm. Like the big lawyer was kind of like the guy who got arrested with. So I was like, okay. State Department would come in. They'd visit and be like, hey, how's the food? I'm like, can you change it? They're like, no. I'm like, okay. I'm like, this is looking bad. And there was 2 people. There was a Serbian woman who worked at the U.S. Embassy, and there's an American man. They'd visit. The Serbian woman was like, I'm so sorry this is happening to you. I see what they're doing to you in the newspaper. And then the American man was like, hey, man, here's the deal. There's a dude in Indonesia, and, you know, they offered him some sentence for like time served. You know, he's like molesting all these kids, and he didn't take it. And then in the end, when he stood trial, he got like 15 years. So you need to really consider like taking a deal. And I'm like, I'm not and I didn't do anything. So why the you tell me this guy in Indonesia? It was really weird. And I could tell the American guy was reading all the newspapers and believing all the hype. And I'm like, what the dude? So that was in April. And then in June or July, June, I'll it up. In the summer, the big lawyer who my lawyer like was partners with, he had like, it was public knowledge that he was working on my case too, because they're all the same. A week later, he gets assassinated. He gets gunned down. Boom. Wow. And then the State Department, when they would visit after, he was just ghost white, terrified of me. The next morning, the prison guards come into our room, strip us everything, and even the shot caller was like, "Whoa, what are you doing, dude?" And like, boom, make me get naked, rip all my. And he's like, "What are you doing?" To the prison guards, the shot caller's like, "You guys need to calm down. You don't come in my room like that." And they turn on the TV, and this is like, you know, Misha Yanovich, rest in peace, was assassinated. Wow. And they know he was the law firm I was. So they thought like I ordered the hit or what, like they thought I was involved somehow. But once that happened and it hit the news, nobody wanted to touch me.
Wow.
At all.
Yeah. So you really thought you were going to do some years?
Oh, 12. I was ready.
That's what they were talking about?
No, they wanted 12, but I mean, I looked into it and there's a guy, I mean, I'm in prison. I'm like friends with all the hooligans. I was a celebrity because I was walking down, you know, when I first got there, I'd see people saluting and I'd turn around and see if they were saluting like the game, like the warden or whatever. And they were saluting me. And I come to find out, yeah, the newspaper said I was there to kill the president, but everybody in prison and every like federal employee hates the president. So I was like the messiah to them. They loved me.
Was it something deeper? Do you think it could have been like counter ops by the guy that you were trying to
I
blackmail?
wish it was that cool.
Or you think it was just bad timing?
Occam's razor, man.
Yeah. Just
I wish it was that sexy, because I'll tell you more what I learned about when I got back. So lawyer assassinated. November comes around, and we're finally charged. And you're supposed to charge me within 6 months, but it's Serbia.
Yeah.
Right. So I get charged in November, or like October or something. And I'm like, okay, cool. Who's the judge? What's going on? And we had to wait like another month because no judge wanted it, because there was no evidence. But the Secretary of Defense already said, oh, he wasn't here with that pistol to shoot fish in the Danube River. He was here for something else. I didn't have a gun. I wasn't arrested with a gun.
Yeah.
Right. So there's this political pressure for them to find something on me. And then they have this like moral pressure of their job to like serve justice. Right. So we finally get this judge. She's like mid-30s, blonde, like hot, right? And he's like, lawyer visits me, goes, hey, we got a judge. And I'm like, let's go, right? Like another event. Because in prison, you measure time by events, right? Like day to day doesn't mean anything. You measure it by court dates and visits, right? So we got a judge. Yeah, but it's a woman. I'm like, what? It's kind of sexist. What's wrong with that? He's like, yeah, but women judges aren't good for like man crimes. I'm like, what the f***'s a man crime? He's like, it has to deal with a gun. I'm like, okay, fine. I'm like, I'm just happy we have one. We got this. And in Serbia, there's no jury. There's a judge. That's it. Yeah. Right. So it's like, oh, I hope she likes a gray hoodie sweater, because that's all I really had for court clothes, So after a year, I had my first court date. And the way it works in Serbia, you go in, opening statements, come back a month later. Come in, prosecution, come back a month later, cross-examine, defend. Like it's just because it's so backed up in time. So, and they put on a show. In the morning, people go into court, they all meet, chained up, and you all get in the paddy wagon. Paddy wagon had plenty of space for me. I got my own paddy wagon with 2 guys with MP5s. Like they made sure to show everybody. Okay. I'm the bad guy. Even in the courtroom, the guy's like, and then I'm like, no, none of the other defendants are cuffed. And he like unhandcuffs me, and I'll do something like, and they're just like, I'm like, that was the boogeyman. Yeah. I was like, this is ridiculous, right? So, the first trial, the judge, I was like the first one in. The judge is like, oh, good morning. And I said good morning in Serbian, right? I was like, Dobri utro. She's like, oh, your Serbian's so good. And I'm like, oh my God, your English is so good. She's like, I've been practicing. I'm like we're flirting. Yeah. I'm like, this is crazy. I'm like flirting with the judge. This is ridiculous, right? And then everyone else walks in, she gavels in and just stone face, right? I'm like, this is wild, right? So I'm like, okay, that's a good thing, right? I guess. Or she's like really fucked up and playing with me. Second court date or third court date, show up. Translator didn't show up. And I go, it's okay. My lawyer's the best translator I've had. Yeah. Doesn't matter. He's not court appointed. Come back a month later. I was like, oh, damn. Court goes on and on and on. And then after 18 months is up, we go back for the last day of court. And it wasn't a 1 month wait from the most previous one. It was like 7 days for sentencing. Bigger hall. We're all sitting.
Hang on. What happened? What was the sentencing? What was the conviction? Were you convicted?
No. So we're going. This is the sentencing court date. Right. So we go there, and
but you haven't been found guilty.
This is the conviction court date. Right. So and sentencing. They kind of do it. They wrap it all in once. Right. So we sit there, and each of the 3 guys stand up like. 6 months house arrest, time served, 1 year, whatever. And then me, she's like, stand up. And when they read they read from top to bottom, accused of this and this. And of course, on that day, I get the worst translator ever. Right. I'm like, what is she saying? What is she saying? And then the judge stops speaking. And the translator says, you can go. I said, okay. Under what conditions? Are they saying I'm guilty, time served? Are they saying I'm innocent? She's like, you're free. I'm like, yeah, I got that. And she says, you're innocent. Awesome. Judge looks at me, perfect English. Sorry for what happened to you. Serbia has to pay, the state has to pay all of your legal fees.
Wow.
I hope this didn't put a bad taste in your mouth about Serbian people. The whole thing, you're going to go back to jail, get your and then you have to go to customs police department because you've been here too long.
Right.
I'm like, dude.
So you think they were just waiting until all the publicity blew over for them to be like, okay, you can go?
I think it's that. And then when I got back, I heard they were Vucic was trying to leverage me to help out Putin when that girl Maria Butina or whatever her name, that Russian spy, that legit Russian spy who got arrested in DC.
Right. Yes, I remember
But
her.
then like when it came out that I wasn't a CIA spy, they're like, we don't want him.
Right.
Like he's not leverage.
And so you never told them what you were actually doing in that country?
What, taking pictures of somebody?
Right.
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I was trying to find a guy drinking alcohol when he shouldn't.
Okay. So they kick you out of the country?
So I go there, and by this time I'm fearless because it's been 18 months.
Yeah.
Stood trial. I won, so I'm coming off a big win, right? My Serbian's pretty good. And like, you got to leave in 3 days. I'm like, I don't think my time should be used up while I was being falsely held. I think I have another month and a half. And the guy's like, what the like we start arguing, and then the police chief comes in and he's like, how does 7 days sound? I said, I can do 7 days. I was gone the next day, but I was just like, ready to fight.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy shit. What year did you get out?
2019.
Wow. Okay. Did you keep pursuing this work?
Yeah. So 2019, I got back in June, and then July of 2019, I was down in Central America working again.
Holy, it didn't defer you at all.
You know, people
Deter
go like,
you.
how could you go back? I'm like, dude, if a cowboy gets bucked off a horse, he doesn't stop riding. You learn, you become better, and you keep riding. If something is what you do and you have a bad day, it doesn't mean it's not what you do anymore. Grow the up, right?
Wow. Did you get paid extra? Did the person who hired you?
We worked it out.
Okay.
Because like it was, that didn't go through, but we have a history and da-da-da. So yeah, it was good.
Okay. So tell us about Central America, because I assume this has something to do with drugs. Am I correct? No?
No.
Can you tell us what you were doing down there?
No, that one I can't.
Why? Do you have an NDA? Like, how does it work when you're a mercenary? I understand you can't talk about things when you're
I think
part
it's
of the military.
more for not incriminating myself. Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell us who hired you?
No.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can you tell us anything?
No, just that I went back to the game a month out of prison.
How many missions do you think you did from between getting out of the game and that time after you got out of prison in Serbia?
From Serbian prison till present day?
Yeah.
3.
Really?
Yeah.
So do these take a long time? Like, are you in
I got
country?
lucky because I tell people in this game, you'll get maybe 4 phone calls in 2 years.
Yeah.
And of those 4 phone calls, 1 is real. 1 is paid, legal-ish, and morally aligned. Right.
So would you only take things that were morally aligned?
Yeah. Everyone's like, oh, you're a mercenary. You have no, like, that's opposite. It's actually opposite. Military, go kill that guy. Okay. Maybe he's a farmer, whatever. I don't lose sleep about it. Right.
Right.
But when you're private, you can say no because you're the prime. When you're a private, you got to say yes, sir.
Yeah.
Right. So when you're your own entity, you can be like, no, I ain't doing that. I got to sleep at night, bro. Yeah.
Interesting. So you could go kill for the state and sleep at night, but to have to kill getting paid by an individual or an entity.
Because you have that onus is on me.
Interesting.
If you're just a soldier doing their job, you go do it. And it's not that I kill for the state and it's easy. It's that I'm put in that position somewhere or another. I join the military and then I'm there. If somebody or something is stopping me and my team from getting home safe, the reasons why I'm there are out the window.
Right.
We're going home. Sorry. We'll deal with it in another life, whatever.
Right.
But right now, I'm going home. So is my team. Now, On the mercenary side, getting put in that position, that's all on you. That's on me. So,
Yeah.
How fast and loose do you want to play it?
Would you have a gun on you, like in Central America, knowing that you're there, you're a one-man show? Would you be armed in case you got to flee?
If I felt the need to, yeah, 100%. And, it's just beat the streets. And people think, you see a movie where James Bond opens up his briefcase and there's a false panel and he pulls out all this shit. It's like, no, you have cash and then you need to go beat the streets and you need a GPS tracker, make one. Because you're not flying into wherever with one, right?
Right.
You need a weapon, procure one, right? Because you're not flying into country with that.
So this is spy work. There's almost nothing different.
So being a spy, that term gets thrown around. A spy is someone who more so spies on their own country. Like I can't be a spy in
Honduras
or Mexico, right? What you do is you recruit someone who lives there to spy for you. Because you can't, to be a spy, then that would mean I'm spying against the United States. And I would never, right? So it's not like, if you wear a wig and stuff, like, dude, even if you're like a black dude from Baltimore, you're not going to fit in Kenya or Cote d'Ivoire or whatever, because you're just not. You recruit someone who lives there, and you do it out of, they want power, they're morally motivated or financially, and you just exploit that from the sources you're running, and they spy for you. You don't go around the spy. You ain't going to get anywhere.
So you're running a team, basically,
recruiting
of spies.
More or less, yeah.
Okay. And is the bag big enough? I assume when you go to these places.
Yeah. Especially now. Like the bag has to be huge.
Right. We're talking hundreds of thousands?
Starting.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because think about it. Because when you do something, if it doesn't go perfect, how much money did I lose 18 months in prison? Right? You need to cover, that bag has to cover a couple years.
You're right.
And even if it goes perfect, it has to cover a couple years because, like I said, of those 4 calls in 2 years, one of them's real. So that job has to cover the next 4 years. Right? Yeah.
Do you know a lot of ex-SEALs and military people that became mercenaries? Like, is it pretty common?
I mean, well, let's clean up that definition. I know a lot of ex-military guys who are like working for the big companies.
Yeah.
Right. Making their 500 a day or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bunch. Huge.
But why did you choose to go like the solo route?
Because I wanted to, I couldn't just do security.
Yeah.
That's all. And I knew there were still bad guys out there.
You wanted the thrill.
I wanted to contribute to there being less bad guys.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll allow it.
Okay.
I'll allow it. Wow. What was your third mission?
You
were in Central America. You were in Serbia. Can you tell us where the final one was? And why you decided to get out?
One was in the States.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And that one wasn't as sexy. It was asset recovery.
Yeah.
To a bad and the guy was a bad guy. A bad dude.
Can you tell us how that wrapped? Because you're in the States, you can't kill somebody.
Yeah. Pretty much.
What's your goal? How do you recover assets in a law-abiding country?
You make them write a really big check.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. And you got to be creative with it, right? You can't just.
Well, you need to motivate them to.
Yeah.
So maybe there's something inside or missing from their house when they wake up, and they're like, "What?" And a little message, whatever.
Yeah. So you're willing to use underhanded tactics in pursuit of a greater goal, which to you is eliminating bad guys, or at least making them pay for what they've done. Justice. Yeah. Right. You're like a cop. You're like a really deep detective.
Yeah. World police.
Yeah. You're a world police. That's right.
But I mean, and then fast forward, all that stuff just slows down. Yeah. There's some international conflicts going on that are very convoluted. And I got phone calls about what's going on in Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not touching that.
Why?
Well, one, I think there's a lot of media being pumped out on one side, and I don't think America's getting the whole picture.
Sure.
Which is with most topics.
Yeah.
And it depends on which flavor media likes to show in a bad or good light. And then two, it's died down now, but there was this whole like video game warrior thing that happened, and guys were flying into Poland to like just get their kill on. Wow. They're working for like $3,000 a month. Those guys that are over there now.
Right. Taking out Russians?
I mean, but it's like an armored battle right now.
Yeah.
Like,
how
are you
are
a transformer? Are you going to turn into a tank?
Exactly.
Like,
what good is a military? What good is a mercenary when there's all out
guys are doing
war?
stuff. I'm not, hey, if you're over there, I'm not talking on you. If you're doing good stuff, be safe, whatever. But for me, that's not it. I'm not going to go to another conflict zone for $3,000 a month.
Yeah.
No. Right.
Yeah.
And then with things not hitting all my little personal check marks had slowed down. A year and a half ago is when I get a phone call from a book agent, and he goes, "Hey, do you want to write a book?" And I said no, because I was still chasing this dragon, and I was like, I want to keep doing this. And then the time between the phone calls got greater and greater, if the phone calls ever came. He called back, and I said, "Let's do it." I said, "Okay." He's like, "Yeah, man, you're an ex-SEAL." I said, "Hey, I don't want to do another SEAL book.
Yeah.
There's plenty of SEAL books. I don't want to talk about buds and the training because, it's not proprietary to me. Everybody's done that. Like, I want to talk about what does someone from my background do after." He's like, "Okay." So we did the book, and it came out in August this year.
What's it called?
American Mercenary.
All right. And they can get it anywhere.
Yeah.
What can you talk about in that book if it's also classified?
The things I've talked about. There's some other stuff in there, some other details I probably miss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you feel like now, don't you think mercenary work is going to keep growing and growing as governments are unable, especially major governments are unable to, just invade countries anymore? Like, it feels like that's kind of the way warfare is going to go.
There'll always be a need. But again, are you going to be the one that gets the call? Is the call going to fit all your criteria? And when I've been given other opportunities to make significant monetary gains in my personal life outside of that, and my life has evolved, right? I have a fiance now, and it's changed.
Yeah.
And I still have that desire to go get the bad guys. But and I still will. But there's also a generation of guys after me that are right there.
Okay. Well, we're going to switch over to the Patreon, and I'm going to try to get some more information out of you. That's pretty fascinating, man. What an incredible, kind of a storied career in many ways, besides your time, in Serbian jail. But I mean, it kind of went as good for you as a SEAL as it could have.
Yeah, the timing was great. Like I didn't get hurt in buzz. I never got rolled. I never took any bullets. Yeah. None of my friends died next to me, and we just dumped dudes every night we went out. It was great.
Wow. And now, how does it feel though that in 2021 to see the Taliban rolling American armory through the streets of Kabul?
You mean 2024?
No, 2021 when when we pulled out.
Oh,
I mean, that's got to be such a stab in the heart.
With all of it. I mean, to me, that's criminal. That's criminal how that happened. Guy, let's blow this up. No, don't blow this stuff up. I don't understand what that was for.
Do you think it would have been how should we have done it though? Because the popular sentiment, I think in both parties was, hey, we got to get out. Yeah. This is a 20-year.
It takes 2 seconds to blow up all the gear.
Yeah.
Less than.
Right. Yeah.
Helicopters, legit, not like we left a couple pistols, night vision, really near peer capability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But do you feel some kind of way just about the fact that you were there and you had to do so much work And yeah, none of your guys got killed, but
No, I have zero attachment to any of the work I did there. And look, I can say that, but I wasn't like the guys in Restrepo that were up on an outpost fighting and we need this, we got to keep it. And you're like, Roger that, sir. Like, guys are getting hit and we're fucking boom. And then like the next week, they're like, yeah, we don't care anymore. Leave it. Like that would gut punch and kill me.
Right.
I don't know how I'd react to that. I'd probably be up if that happened to me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But on a ideological level, you were just there doing work. And so whatever, even though ultimately the Taliban won, you won because you're just stacking W's.
I wasn't there to change the political face of Afghan. I don't give a Yeah.
All right. That's honest.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
I would have tried to be in the State Department, not a Navy SEAL. Right? If I really wanted to make change, go to a place that makes change. Go get a pen in your hand and go to DC and make change.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Wow. Dude, Dan, fascinating. Go get American Mercenary, dude.
Yeah, check it out.
Yeah, man. You have social media or anything you want?
Yeah, I'm at American_Mercenary on Instagram.
Very cool. All right, let's switch over. Let's talk some more. Patreon.com/TheConnectShow. And we're going to zen up too.
Yeah.
No, I need another one, dude.
Yeah.
I need maybe two more.
Can you pass one over?
Yeah. No, you want my used one?
No, is that it?
This is
the
it.
Case? Oh.
To tap a new can.
All right. Well,
we got to get Zin. We got to get Zin to sponsor the show.
Yeah, no kidding.
Thank you guys. And thank you, Daniel.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You got it, buddy. Patreon. We'll see you over there. Take care.